We are seeing some clear signs this week that both Democrats and Republicans in Congress are concerned about the Obama administration's foreign policy. Joining us from Washington to talk with us is Grant Rumley, a Middle East analyst with the Foundation of Defense for Democracies. Grant, House Speaker John Boehner has invited Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel to address Congress in regards to Iran without telling the White House. And then Senator Robert Menendez, a Democrat, said the White House talking points on Iran sounded like they were coming from Tehran. What do you make of these events?
Well, I think what we're seeing here is pretty clearly a division between Congress and the administration. We've seen this the past couple of years, but I think it's really coming to a head, specifically with the Iran issue and specifically with Israel. Speaker Boehner inviting Netanyahu to come out now is notable for a couple of reasons. One, it shows that Congress is divided, that it's not standing with the direction that President Obama is taking. And two is that I think underneath the surface, it's also playing a little bit into the Israeli elections, which are now scheduled to take place March 17th, which is only a couple of weeks after Netanyahu's scheduled visit. I think it's pretty clear Obama and Netanyahu haven't had the coziest of relationships. And Speaker Boehner knows this, and he knows that having Netanyahu come and address Congress might give Netanyahu a boost in the polls ahead of an election.
That's really interesting. You know, it is clear that many lawmakers are upset and believe that the president snubs Israel and seems to reward enemies like Iran. Why do you think that is, and what can be done about it?
Well, I think that's a complaint that you hear come from all ends of the spectrum, and I think if you asked leaders and people in the countries in the Middle East, they would say the number one complaint is that the Obama administration doesn't seem to have a vision for what they want what they want the foreign policy to be and what they want the Middle East policy to be. And in regards to something like the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, this is now manifested in the Palestinians going international. Israel has felt almost as if the U.S., they can rely on them for a veto, but at other times they're not doing everything in their power to sort of halt things like the Palestinian unilateralism campaign. So I think broadly speaking, the main criticism that you hear is that Obama's foreign policy lacks a vision for where it wants to go, that it's a responsive foreign policy, that it responds to events rather than is proactive towards events.
All right, and interestingly, there is bipartisan talk right now to cut U.S. funding to the Palestinians and the UN. The U.S. has sent billions of dollars to the Palestinians, and U.S. taxpayers fund more than a fifth of the UN budget. How effective is the threat of a funding cutoff in your view?
Well, I think it's really the only leverage we have right now with the Palestinian Authority. The past couple of months have shown us that the Palestinians are dead set on going to the UN while there are no negotiations on the table. And we've seen them go to the Security Council, and now they're signing the Statute of Rome and potentially going to the ICC. All the U.S. really has here is the financial aid that we give the Palestinians and the Palestinian Authority. The trouble, I think, here for the U.S. and for Israel is that we do not want to destabilize the Palestinian Authority, but we want to punish it and change its course of action. How you do that by withholding aid without threatening its very existence is a fine line to walk. And I think what you're seeing is the administration and Congress grapple with that line.
And tell us a little more about the International Criminal Court right now in regards to Israel and Palestine. What is the threat to Israel from the court?
Well, the threat is the Palestinians have signed the Statute of Rome, but they haven't ratified it yet. They become members on April 1st. Up until that point, they released what's called an ad hoc declaration for everything since, I believe, June 13th, which is the day after the Israeli teenagers were kidnapped and a couple weeks before the war started. So that is what they're threatening now. After April 1st, they cannot threaten any events before April 1st. So what happens then, and it becomes any war crimes that occur after April 1st, broadly speaking, under international legal definition. I think the main concern right now for Israel and the main threat that the Palestinians would like to issue is that they believe that the settlements in the West Bank, the Israeli settlements in the West Bank, are a violation of that. That is what Palestinian leaders routinely tout. That's what they touted before the Gaza war, and that's what they're going to broadcast after April 1st. whether or not they have grounds for that, whether or not there's an actual ICC investigation, this is all years away, and this is all, of course, legal speculation. But that is what the Palestinian operating code is right now. That is where they think they have their strength, and that is what is causing Israel and the U.S. to react.
All right, and also we know that former Speaker Newt Gingrich has proposed that the House and Senate hold hearings to shed light on Obama's policies on Iran, ISIS, and the Palestinians. Do you think that is a good idea to hold hearings?
Well, I think the bigger question here is where is the country going the next 2 years? What is Obama's end goal for the next 2 years of his foreign policy? The Middle East is evolving rapidly, and to predict what's happening in the next year, let alone the next month, is of course impossible. I think what former Speaker Gingrich is trying to do, and what members of Congress are trying to do, is get the Obama administration to really nail down where they want their foreign policy to go and what type of plan they have for the next 2 years, specifically in the Middle East.
All right, and it's really a different outlook now that Republicans are controlling both houses. A lot of things are changing. Thank you so much for your time, Grant Rumley.
Thank you.